The night of our wedding reception was still alive with laughter and clinking glasses when a stranger in a black baseball cap approached me on the dance floor. He tapped my shoulder lightly and said, "Someone asked me to give you this," before melting back into the crowd without another word. In my hand was an unmarked envelope, sealed shut with a simple strip of tape. No address, no signature, nothing to identify the sender. I slipped away to a quieter corner near the bar and tore it open. Inside lay a single folded note and a small brass key. The handwriting on the note was unmistakable. It was hers, my new wife's. The message read, "This is the key to your wife's apartment, not yours." Another one. "The address is on the back. Go today while she's sleeping. Open the door. You'll understand why she was in such a hurry to get married." I stood frozen amid the swirling celebration, champagne flute still in one hand, while the other clenched around the evidence of something shattering. My name is Carter Hayes, and barely 5 hours into my marriage, I was holding proof that someone else knew a side of my bride I had never glimpsed. I could have dismissed it as a cool joke, some jealous ex's parting shot. But the script was Hayes, looped letters, the slight tilt to the right I had teased her about 100 times. The address scribbled on the reverse matched the old apartment she claimed to have vacated months earlier, the one she'd insisted was gone from her life before we even got engaged. Our honeymoon flight was scheduled to depart that very night. She was upstairs in the bridal suite already, sweetly exhausted, a little tipsy, radiantly beautiful in her white gown, now officially my wife. I told her I needed to step down to thank the catering staff and photographers for everything. She smiled sleepily and murmured something about how perfect the day had been. I kissed her forehead and left. Instead of heading to the staff room, I summoned a rideshare app and gave the driver the address from the note. I told no one, not my best man, not my family, not even the doorman at the hotel, where I was really going. The building was on a quiet residential street across town, modest and unassuming. 3rd floor, one solitary window glowing faintly in the dark. My pulse hammered as I climbed the stairs, key in hand. I paused at the door, listening for any sound from within, then slid the key into the lock. It turned smoothly. The door swung open into near-total silence. No lights on, no television murmuring, only the low hum of a refrigerator and the soft, uneven ticking of a wall clock that hung slightly crooked. The apartment wasn't abandoned. It was actively, recently lived in. A pair of men's size 11 shoes sat neatly by the entrance. Not my size, not my style. A leather jacket was draped carelessly over the arm of the couch. In the kitchen sink, 2 coffee mugs rested, still damp, as if used that very morning. And on the hardwood floor near the hallway entrance lay a pair of women's high heels I recognized immediately. They were hers. The red-soled ones she'd worn during our engagement photos, the ones she'd said were packed away in storage. I am Carter Hayes, and I was now standing inside a secret that no one leaves behind by mistake. This place hadn't been forgotten or neglected. It was carefully maintained, ready for return at any moment. I moved forward cautiously, almost afraid to disturb the air. The couch cushion bore a clear indentation, as though someone had sat there not long ago. The throw blanket folded at one end was still warm to the touch. On the side table beside the sofa sat a small stack of printed Polaroids, not framed or staged, just casual snapshots. One captured her on an unfamiliar rooftop, head thrown back in laughter. Another showed her wrapped in the arms of a dark-haired man, both of them smiling with an ease and intimacy she had never quite shown me. I continued into the bedroom. On the dresser stood 2 toothbrushes side by side in a holder. A framed photo of the same man, shirtless, grinning in a swimming pool. A bottle of cologne I had never smelled on my own skin. And there, draped over the mirror frame, was a delicate necklace I had given her early in our dating days, the one she told me she'd lost during a move. She hadn't lost it. She had left it here, in this hidden space. The bed was unmade, sheets tangled. One pillow still held the shallow dent of a recent head. This wasn't a forgotten rental or a backup crash pad. This was a parallel life, fully functional, shared. I didn't linger. I didn't rifle through drawers or take photos yet. I simply backed out, closed the door softly behind me, and left everything exactly as I had found it, like evidence of a crime scene you know better than to contaminate. In the car ride back, I sat in stunned quiet. No radio, no tears streaming down my face, just one relentless question crushing my chest. Why marry me at all if this existed? Back at the hotel suite, she slept peacefully, makeup smudged from the long day, hair still curled in soft waves, the picture of contented bride. I stood in the doorway in the dark and studied her face as though seeing it for the first time. For the first time in our entire relationship, I felt nothing. No rage, no grief, only a cold, crystalline clarity. The next morning she woke first, rolled over, kissed my shoulder, and whispered happily, "I still can't believe we're married." I forced a small smile and said nothing. Instead, I suggested I go pick up breakfast, something special to surprise her. What she didn't know was that I wasn't heading for croissants or coffee. I was returning to that apartment, this time with a camera, because as she was supposedly resting in our bed, I needed to see who might be using the second key while she was asleep. I parked discreetly across the street and waited. Just before noon, a black sedan rolled up. A man in a sharp tailored suit stepped out, key already in hand. He entered without hesitation or knocking. Less than 5 minutes later, she appeared, supposedly still in our hotel bed, with our honeymoon flight only hours away. She wore the same red coat from our engagement shoot, moving with the automatic confidence of routine as she unlocked the door to her secret world. I am Carter Hayes, watching through the zoom lens of my camera from the front seat, a bitter acid burning in my throat. Who the hell did I just marry? Through the window I saw her greet him. No awkwardness, no furtive glances. She kissed him directly on the mouth. It wasn't impulsive passion or a stolen fling. It was comfortable, practiced, familiar. They laughed together. She tossed her coat over the same chair where I'd seen the leather jacket the night before. Then they vanished into the bedroom, closing the door behind them as though I had never entered their story. I remained in the car for another full hour, not paralyzed by indecision, but deliberately refusing to explode like the trusting husband she assumed I would be. Instead, I made a phone call. Not to her, not to him, to my lawyer. I explained the situation calmly, even though it sounded insane coming out of my mouth. "I need an annulment filed before midnight," I said, "and I need to know if fraud applies here." He didn't flinch. "It depends what you can prove," he replied. I forwarded him the photos I'd just taken, along with a note and key details. Then I drove back to the hotel. She returned about an hour later, hair damp as if from a quick shower, humming softly like the morning had been ordinary. I looked up from the couch and said evenly, "We're not flying anywhere today." Her smile faltered. I continued, "Also, you left your second apartment key in my suit pocket." Her face drained a color. For 5 long seconds she said nothing. Then, "I don't know what you're talking about." I stood slowly, reached into my jacket, and dropped the key onto the glass coffee table. The metallic clink echoed sharply in the room. "You should sit," I told her. She didn't. She stared at the key as though it might explode. I am Carter Hayes, the man who once believed love was built on trust alone. Now I understood it demands truth first, even when that truth destroys everything. She finally spoke. "It's not what you think." I let out one short, bitter laugh. "Really? Because what I think is that you married me while keeping a fully furnished apartment with another man who has his own key. What I think is that this entire wedding was camouflaged for something bigger, and I have surveillance footage to prove it." Her eyes flicked toward the door. She was already plotting her next move. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this," she whispered. "But it did," I answered. "And you signed that marriage license under false pretenses. Legally, that's fraud." She looked up then, and I saw real fear in her eyes, not fear of losing me, but fear of losing whatever larger thing she was shielding. Then she made her critical error. She said, "You don't understand. It wasn't about you. It was for him. We had to make it look real." I froze. Had to. 2 words that reframed the entire nightmare. This wasn't merely an affair. It was orchestrated, a setup. I took a measured step back as the ground beneath me seemed to tilt. "Start talking," I said. My voice stayed low, controlled, dangerous in its calm. Her hands trembled as she stared at the key. "It wasn't supposed to get this far," she admitted. "You were just supposed to be the face." I blinked. "The what?" Carter Hayes, husband for less than 48 hours, had apparently been reduced to the face in someone else's calculated scheme. She sat at last, the story spilling out in fragments. The man in the apartment wasn't a casual lover. He was a primary target, but his immigration status was precarious. A direct marriage to him would raise red flags with authorities. He needed legal distance, financial separation, a temporary buffer. She looked at me. You were stability, a clean record, a business owner, someone the system would never scrutinize. I stood rigid. So you married me as cover for his life. She nodded, tears falling now, not from guilt, but from panic. You were perfect on paper. That's why I pushed everything so fast. The engagement, the wedding, the license, the honeymoon. We had a schedule. A schedule, like I was an item on a checklist, a means to an end. I felt my entire body go cold. What happens to me when the plan is complete? Her silence answered louder than words. I picked up my phone and redialed my lawyer. Update the filing. I instructed. Add conspiracy to defraud and immigration fraud facilitation. We're not just annulling this marriage. We're pressing charges. She lunged forward. Carter, please. I stopped her with a single look. You married the wrong man. She trailed me into the hallway barefoot, mascara streaking her face, voice cracking between desperation and disbelief. You don't get it. He's not some criminal. He's important. He needed help. I toned. And I was what? Your visa mule. Carter Hayes, the man she assumed would remain polite, compliant, forever in love. She hadn't just underestimated me. She had never truly seen me. By the time we left the hotel, my lawyer had filed emergency documents, annulment on grounds of fraud, injunction freezing any shared assets, formal notification to immigration enforcement. Both she and he were named. I didn't speak to her again that night. There was nothing left to say. She already knew the storm was coming. But he appeared at my office the next morning. Slick suit, practice smile, the calm of someone accustomed to cleaning up messes. Let's be adults, he said. You've made your point. You were never in danger. This was just temporary. I closed the door behind him and let him talk. He slid a check across the desk. 5 figures, a tidy sum to vanish the problem. I glanced at it, then at him. You're not buying silence, I said. You're buying evidence. He blinked. I pushed a folder toward him. Every text message screenshot, every photo, the lease agreement listing both their names, bank transfer records, the full timeline. You can leave now, I told him, or you can stay until they arrive. He rose slowly. The smirk was gone. You'll regret this. I smiled. Try me. 2 hours later, I delivered the complete file to federal authorities. This had moved beyond personal heartbreak. It was organized fraud, calculated, deliberate. Tomorrow, they would both face headlines they never anticipated. The story broke at 7:42 a.m. Local news picked it up first. Then it spread regionally. Marriage fraud scheme uncovered. Groom exposes plot days after wedding. Their names, their photos, the charges, everything laid bare. I gave no interviews. I didn't gloat. I sat alone at a small cafe across from the courthouse, watching 2 people who believed themselves untouchable walk directly into consequences. Carter Hayes, the man they used as a shield, became the mirror that reflected their deception back at them. She was arrested first, immigration fraud, conspiracy, falsifying marital documents. She collapsed into tears in custody, claiming she had loved me, insisting it was all misunderstanding. I believed none of it. He surrendered quietly, leaning on whatever connections he had. They weren't sufficient. The investigator confided later that this wasn't their first attempt, only the first time they'd been caught. In the days that followed, I finalized the annulment, sold my share of the condo we'd briefly shared, and donated every wedding gift to a local shelter. Friends and family kept asking if I was okay. I didn't want to be okay. I wanted to be free. A week later, one final envelope arrived in my mailbox. No tape this time. Inside was an old photo of her from years before the lies began. On the back, in her handwriting, I'm sorry. I didn't think you'd ever find out. But I had, and that was the difference between the man I used to be and the one I had become. I didn't burn the photo. I didn't archive it. I simply let it drop into the trash. quietly, completely, the way I let go of the woman I thought I had married. Because this was never a love story. It was a warning.